At some time in your life, you'll glance around and see that you've been chasing after nothing more than specters. Validation, acknowledgement, approval, and respect. Plus, it always slid out of your grasp the second you were about to grab it. Just enough to plant the seed of hope that things would improve and they will notice if I put in more effort. Yet, that is never the case. Reason being spotted isn't the point of the hunt. It's all about losing touch with your identity. You don't seek for more of what you already have. Furthermore, leadership, true leadership, the type. It brings peace to rooms. Empires don't rise by chasing. It demands nothing in the way of showmanship, charisma, urgency, or the desire to be followed, but rather the unfaltering will to act in integrity regardless of whether anyone is looking. According to Carl, your unconscious will dictate your actions until you bring it to your conscious mind. For most people, this voice tells them to run harder, achieve more, and eventually become someone respected. But when you stop chasing, you face a deeper truth, and rather than racing after them, you should have been running away from your imperfect, unprepared self. The person who is already fully aware of who they are, but has buried that knowledge under layers of conformity, adaptability, and survival. Returning to that self is essential for leadership. You can't put on a mask and pretend to be a leader. It's the kind of creature you become when you're alone with yourself, when your spirit speaks louder than your mind. Quietness is the initial stage. The decision not to run. The denial of. Continue after what was never meant to be yours. Not wanting to prove anything that is already true, given how engrossing the pursuit may be. It serves as an aspirational goal. Doing something gives you a sense of accomplishment. In reality, though, chasing is a diversion from being. Seeking power is not the path to power. Being firmly established in your identity allows you to harness your power as the world starts to revolve around you. The beginning of Cyhoria is at this point, when one's thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and deeds all converge in just cadence, in which overcoming fear becomes an expression of who you are with each stride. Also, you can't get to Cyhoria if you're still after specters. The pursuit must end. Stop chasing after things that don't matter. Approval, admiration, vengeance, closure, justice. Put an end to it all, since pursuing even a single one gives it control over you. And the reins of power are never really passed on. Who then becomes a leader? Stop running first. In terms of actual form, no. You mentally stop trying to escape things like rejection, silence, and ignorance, emanating from the you that terrifies those who persist in their efforts to maintain a diminutive identity. Because you've outgrown that version, the one you constantly watering down to fit into rooms. That person is in charge. That's the one that skips chasing since it's unnecessary. Is aware, not because it wants to be liked or approved of, but because staying put would be betraying its purpose. It walks the walk. True leaders don't undertake things just to win accolades. Because standing still is impossible for them due to their vision, they move. They want to remain silent. They have a conversation. Because the truth must be heard. Nobody ever checks to see if it's time. Now is the moment they decide. After then, their frequency becomes so clear that they no longer need to chase after anything. It draws all they need to them. Simple language. Because you will constantly be chasing without it. Let's remain here. Is there anything I can do to satisfy you? Have they noticed me yet? Is this the time they'll listen to me? However, once issues are clarified, inquiries are no longer necessary. When your beliefs are matched with your actions, you begin to embody clarity. When you stop telling me I should be that, you claim that I am that. Who am I to proceed? It will be yours the second you act as if it were already yours. You move from a state of being pursued to one of being led, not because you were bestowed a crown, but rather because such an honor is unnecessary. Internal is the crown. Everyone who beholds you understands that the throne is within you. It was hard to turn a blind eye to you just being there, not because of what you said. The most influential people you know don't require convincing for this reason. No need for them to push. Pursuing is unnecessary. Simply said, when you are truth, you have nothing to chase after. Attracting alignment is as easy as pie, as the non-aligned elements are eliminated. Disconnecting from others is unnecessary. Persuade them to stay on your own will. When you stand up, everything around you will follow suit. When you reach this point in your journey, you will no longer care if other people approve of you since you already have their approval. Letting go of the need to be picked out and instead steadfastly pursuing your own vision until you become unstoppable and believe in it. True faith is no longer an abstract idea. This serves as a set of guidelines for behavior. You wake up in this way. It's all in your delivery. It's the stuff you turn down. It's the kind of thing you can confidently avoid. Once you let go of the need to constantly seek, you'll begin to hold yourself to a higher standard. The things you desire do not come to you. Realize that you draw to yourself exactly what you radiate. And don't think you need to chase harder if the results aren't in line with your expectations. Becoming more aligned is the message. The key is to become known not for your performance, but for your integrity and your patterns, rather than your noise. Advance 2. A leader whose demeanor is an exact mirror of their actions, since leadership is not achieved in the spotlight, but by self-discipline when no one is looking. If you want others to follow you, you should provide an example worth following. When you hold yourself to a high standard first, then you can urge others to do the same, and you'll never have to chase after approval again. Leaders don't ask for it. People that go through this transformation learn to carry themselves with grace and dignity. Leaders like you don't just do their jobs, they truly become the. Only one can illuminate the path through the shadows. Plus, no one will inquire as to your destination when they observe you calmly making your way through a tempest without trembling, yelling, or pleading. They follow because being present, having conviction, clarity, and calm are all pathways to success. Plus, when you quit trying to outrun your energy, it will take over. Simply put, when your energy takes center stage, you transform into a signal, not a seeker, a beacon, not a beggar. You give up attempting to prove your value to society since your frequency is already communicating in a way that only those who are in alignment can understand. And you won't even have to exclaim, "Look at me," because they will. No need to yell out, "Follow me." Your movements will speak volumes. Life itself will speak louder than any amount of self-promotion could possibly convey your readiness. Leadership and performance differ in this respect. Pay attention to performance. The top brass is looking for harmony. The focus in performance is on visuals. The focus of leadership is on the end result. And performance is a race against time. Yet, a legacy is built through leadership. To begin removing, you must first establish that legacy. Get the background noise down. Give up seeking validation. Get over the need to be in the spotlight all the time. Because a leader who has mastered the art of remaining silent is the most perilous kind of leader. No one should pay attention to them. They shine like a beacon, and they achieve it by shedding all their shadows. Discipline is that. Not by doing more, but by doing less poorly, but with greater precision, purpose, and surgical precision. In terms of your effort, enthusiasm, and affirmative. For the simple reason that protecting comes before pursuing. What you safeguard, you also construct. You become what you construct. What you represent automatically takes the lead. A leader like this doesn't try to push things forward by force. They gain speed, not in terms of speed, but of direction clarity. Also, clarification isn't quick. There is a silence. The sensation is one of knowing, calm in the midst of tempest, and defying the pull of time pressure. Not rightfully yours. Reason being, leaders don't react to crises. It doesn't. Heed the call of quiet. It isn't always quick to react to fires. It determines. Decisions are founded on principle rather than external pressure. That is its alluring quality. It is felt by many. Your limits are seen by others. They pick up on your cadence. There is command, and they don't feel pursued. You move in a unique way. Because your yes now has a price tag. You talk differently. Right now, your time matters. Your dream is more than just a catchphrase now. A standard indeed. Plus, nothing gets in until it can meet it. Know you. Look scared when they decline. You anticipate it. When they leave, you keep going. You bestow blessings upon them because you comprehend that the passage of time allows for the eventual arrival of what truly belongs. When something drains you, you cut ties with it. Things that hold you back are no longer tolerated. You must cease acting as though your worth is still debatable. It isn't. You've made up your mind. You've grown into it already. More importantly, you are no longer leading from a position of perfection. When it comes to presence, authenticity is key. Through the darkness, you gained control, and the anguish you endured transformed you into principle. You transformed uncertainty into purpose. You emerged unscathed from the inferno that consumed your life's unnecessary possessions. This exemplifies true leadership. Not positions of authority, not crowds of admirers, not accolades, but the duty to take the lead, to delve further, to practice what one preaches before teaching it, to stand firm when others falter. Plus, chasing would disperse your energy, so you won't be able to accomplish that. You become quite anxious. It dilutes your impact. You lose your uniqueness and become just another face in a sea of people. Would you prefer a different approach? Then halt your pursuit. End the proof. Get a room that can actually hold your fire instead of wasting time trying to earn one that can't. Create an existence so firmly rooted in purpose that others perceive you before you utter a word. Establish a course of action so grounded in honesty that shady tactics are offensive. Construct a frequency that is so uncommon that any misalignment will be ejected. Not because you were the one to promote it, but because your position rendered it moot. It has. What transpires when one ceases to pursue? Your strength is restored. You get more concentrated. As you speak your truth, your leadership is no longer debatable. You became an unstoppable force in the world, and it's not because you requested it. You limit your agency with each justification you offer. Not a defense, not an approach, and definitely not a tale you can put your faith in. A bond bound by the allure of familiarity, strengthened by the bonds of dread and habit. I can't. I'm not ready. Every time you say that, the timing is never right. You aren't merely thinking twice. Link by link, doubt after doubt, you shackle your own potential until you look up and realize you're not living, growing, or becoming. You're simply practicing your own confinement. Life becomes a prison of myths you made up to escape your own grandeur, rather than a place where you can create. As Jung put it, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Excuses are just that. The art of avoidance. An evasion of the mirror, a postponement of tasks, a facade. That although you aren't solely responsible for your life, it is. Nothing about your upbringing, your history, or your experiences applies to you. And you will continue to construct lovely prisons while bewildered as to why you feel lifeless on the inside until you completely and utterly own it. Dismantle the link. Tomorrow is not going to work. Get in front of the mirror. Get things done. Because being comfortable is not a prerequisite for freedom. Bravery is the source of it. The force within you is patiently waiting, but it will not beg. Seize control or remain ensnared. You have always had the choice. We humans are. A structure housing narratives. The most hazardous one was planted deep into yours by someone. You still have time. However, that account is false. An unseen toxin. A hushed message that confirms waiting is fine. At a later time, you can progress. Believing you can put off truly greatness for the time being, that the suffering you're experiencing isn't an emergency, but rather a phase, and that tomorrow, and only tomorrow, will be the day you make your presence felt. The weapon of choice for the mediocre, though, is tomorrow. It's the process by which ability becomes an action. So it is produced in this way. At the end of the day, all the pretense, busyness, and half-truth boil down to one harsh reality. Your excuses are the tombstones that mark the last resting place of your actual existence. Their voices are really innocent sounding. I had enough. I haven't prepared enough. I just require a boost to my self-assurance. It's too late for me. I am lacking the necessary backing. Fear, however, is revealed when you peel them back. Logic masquerading as fear. Anxiety masquerading as logic. Anxiety masquerading as prudence. Also, fear is deceitful since it will never tell you to stay the same. I simply is telling you to put it off, to think about it too much, to wait for something to happen, to be motivated, to feel ready, etc. But being prepared is not real. A result is confidence. As a result, inspiration follows. When you take the lead, others will follow. However, that isn't what your former self desires. Because it is aware, your former self is afraid. It will go away as soon as you stop bringing up excuses. The old story starts to burn the second you stop saying anything, when you start moving with uncertainty, and when you start acting with shaking hands. Also, it's intended to hurt, but no one tells you that. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's a healing ritual. Simply said, if you can remove the justifications from your heart, you can also remove the false identities that were bound to them. All of these personas, the victim, the procrastinator, the martyr, and the perfectionist, are just that, personas. And you have to brave the flames unprotected if you want to kill them. Unprotected, truthful, and staring into the face of the things you used to hold responsible. You can finally admit, this was me. I let this happen. I stayed too long. I hid too well. But not anymore. That's when your life starts. Not when everything is perfect or easy, but when it's true. Because power is born from facing your weaknesses, not from pretending to be invincible, but from staring down your own self-deception and refusing to blink. If you want to change your life, then stop fooling yourself. You can't call hesitation patience, fear, humility, or comfort. Thanksgiving isn't about settling, it's about growing. Humility isn't about being invisible. It's about having a firm belief in what you believe in. Patience is only admirable when it's not used to hide avoidance. How much time are you willing to sacrifice for a narrative that confines you? You claim to desire freedom, but you hold on to your chains like treasures, protecting them with conviction and polishing, justifying, and defending them with conviction. The fear of becoming something more is real because it means losing the crowd and facing more challenges. You will find power in the shadows, not in the echo chambers or the applause, but in the places where you have shied away from responsibility. There, your chains rust and your excuses live like parasites. In these places, you will also find your greatness buried, not because it is gone, but because you have stopped looking. Most people fail not because they were incapable, but because they failed to take responsibility for their actions. You, unlike most people, feel that tension, pressure, and ache in your chest. It's not anxiety, but suppressed greatness. It's your true self pounding on the inside of your skull, screaming, "Let me out," but you've cloaked that voice in reasons, logic, and justifications that sound poetic and almost convince you, but not entirely. Because deep down, you know that I truly believe that you have granted yourself permission to go all in, to stop waiting, to stop explaining, to stop being the watered-down version of yourself that the world tolerates. It's terrifying because it means letting go of everything you used to cling to, saying goodbye to your former self, killing the version of yourself that survived so you can finally meet the version of yourself that lives. Because survival is not the goal, it never was, and you were never meant to be. You were meant to survive, to ignite, to shake the foundation of everything little, to breathe like a storm and walk like prophecy. However, every excuse you make is a vote for survival over expansion. It's a silent concession to the old voice whispering, "Stay here. This is your birthright." You're teaching your nervous system that your fear is more important than your vision every time you pause, say, "Maybe later," or otherwise indicate that you'd rather stay in the dark. It's not a game. It's not self-help. It's spiritual warfare. You're fighting habits that dull you, beliefs that devalue you, and excuses that make you feel better while actually holding you back. You're not exhausted, underappreciated, unworthy, undisciplined, or broken. Rather, you've been hiding under a mountain of excuses that you've mistaken for truth. But now the truth is staring you in the face. Polite, not kind, unapologetic, demanding, and relentless, it begs the question, how much longer will you deceive yourself about your potential? How much longer will you believe the narrative that you're not prepared, that additional time is needed, or that another entity is in charge. I'll tell you the time. It's now. And you, my friend, have always been in control. Every breath you waste waiting for a sign is a breath you deprive yourself of your own momentum. Every second you spend explicating your fears is a second you waste. Are you going to be one of those people who leapt when they were terrified, who shattered their excuses and built from the debris? Or are you still polishing the chains you pretend are too heavy to let go of? The world doesn't need more people who waited until everything was perfect. It needs people who moved when they felt brave and when it was convenient, because every moment you delay is a moment your power decays. Snap? Then snap all of them. Snap all of the chains that say, I'm not good enough. What if I don't succeed? Destroy them not with gentleness or savagery, but with the terrible, lovely violence of becoming an individual who no longer negotiates with their limitations. Your justifications aren't holy. They aren't unique. They aren't your identity. The one you crafted as a child when you were told to be quiet, polite, and small. The one you encircled around yourself when you allowed shame to supplant sovereignty. If you give in to them, these parasites will devour your destiny. Discipline is hard, but regret is even harder. Imagine waking up 10 years from now with the same dreams, stories, and fire, still simmering under the same excuses. Then you'll have to explain to your future self why you waited, why you chose delay over devotion, why you chose to protect your fear rather than activate your future. That's what excuses are, protection for the parts of you that don't want to grow. By clinging to your fears, you capsize your future. By embracing your comfort, you stifle your calling. By refusing to let go of your excuses, you stifle your evolution. But here's the truth that no one wants to admit. You are constantly making a choice. Whenever you rationalize your delay, you vote against your own rise. And whenever you repeat an excuse, you reinforce your own cage. But the door was always open. The lock was just a facade. You were only faithful to your chains. So get out of here now, not tomorrow or someday. Stand up and shout the truth more loudly than your excuses ever could. Stop talking. Declare, this ends with me, add, I will not spend another second letting fear wear the crown that was built for my power, and mean it. Until you do, you'll remain asleep, daydreaming about potential rather than living it, a life dictated by hesitation. However, the truth will set you free. When you truly mean it, there is no turning back. When you stop flinching and start walking barefoot into the unknown, you regain your power. You no longer speak from a place of hope, but from a place of conviction. You no longer try, you embody. Rather than dip your toes in change, you burn the bridge behind you and forge ahead. You no longer wait for someone to hand you the reins. Instead, you take control of your life. It's you, but only after you wrench it from the clutches of every justification you've ever used. You wrench it from the grasp of doubt. You grab it from the embrace of ease. You reclaim it from the foundation of your former self. And in that moment, that sacred rupture is terrifying, because power feels foreign after blindly following fear for so long. Because silence feels intolerable after hiding in noise. Because responsibility feels like fire after years of blaming your surroundings. But this fire doesn't burn. If you desire clarity, earn it. If you want peace, forge it. If you want freedom, plead for it. Every excuse is a shield you're holding in front of your potential. If you don't drop the shield, you will never lift the sword. So drop it now. Drop the language of limitation. Drop the narrative of delay. Drop the story that says your past dictates your future. Because the future you deserve can't be built by the excuses you're defending. And once you let them, bury them like the parasites they are, and let them die, not managed, tolerated, or intellectualized, but buried. Then you will feel power like you haven't felt in years. It's yours, undeniable, untouchable, and unchained. Pay close attention, because what's coming next isn't a conclusion, but a resurrection. Your old life ends here, not with applause, not with a post, not with fulfillment, yet with the subdued aggression of a man who has made up his mind. No more waiting, no more stories, no more chains. Your fire will not be met with excuses. Your vision will not be met with apology. You won't have to worry about the weight of being outgrown by those who prioritized ease above discernment. The part of you that pleaded for help has long since faded. That borrowed, shame-speaking voice in your head has outgrown you. You have triumphed against the script that instructed you to count your blessings for just being alive rather than yearning for complete independence. Standing up now, in order to reassert, rather than to demonstrate or impress. The power you lost when you shut yourself off in a place of belonging must be reclaimed, your time, your thoughts, and your entire being. Not the world at large, but the part of yourself that has repeatedly surrendered your crown to humility in the name of fear is the object of your rebellion. Now is the time to free the chain and return it to its original fiery source. The second you reject the idea that ease is paramount, when you realize that being quiet was never your life's purpose, should have roared, will yell out more forcefully than any rationalization, any specter, or any remnant of your past self could ever muster. Send it to them. Do not be afraid, old patterns. Prove to all your imaginary boundaries that they have no place in your life anymore. There is no almost in your story. There is no someday in your character. You're not someone who submits to the logic of dread. Okay, you're done. Here is where you draw the boundary. At this very moment, the chain breaks. You can stop making excuses right now, and something very old stands in their stead. Someone or something unbridled, unstoppable. It is you.